Chris and Mads, sisters who love a good story.
The only thing better than experiencing a good story is talking about it.
We're here for the unfiltered, unhinged conversations with fellow story lovers and storytellers.
And the occasional rant or rave about the shit that rips our hearts out and puts us back together again.
The stuff that makes us laugh till we pee our pants.
And the ones that teach us what it is to be human. Welcome to the Sisterhood.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sisterhood podcast. Today, you're going to be talking with just the two of us. We don't have any fabulous guests, even though we are fabulous, but we are in planning mode. This is when we decide what the next year will bring. We set our intentions, and as heavy readers, we've got a lot of notes.
I mean, 2024 has been great, but we learn something every year about what we want to do the following year, and we grow every year. So I think it's time for us to take stock, evaluate, and make some changes for the coming year, and I'm very excited about mine.
Oh, I'm so excited too. Honestly, I'm buzzing right now because I'm going to be honest with you. I think 2023 was a better reading year for me than 2024.
Wow, this is tea.
Yes, we're actually drinking tea, so this is very on trend for us, but I liked this year a lot.
Okay.
I had some great reads, and I hope this was not the case for you, but 2023 was the year that we started Chris and Mads, and I think I had a certain level of abandonment that I lost in 2024. I got a little too planned, a little bit too regimented, and I don't think I like my hobby too strict.
Okay. You kind of made it too much of a chore in 2024.
Not that all my reading was a chore, but there were parts of it that were like a chore, and I'm ripping those out like a weed that's been staring me in the face.
Okay. I feel like 2023 and 2024 are equivalent for me with similar strengths and weaknesses.
Oh.
Yes. I feel like 2023, I was really finding my taste and discovering what I like, which means I discovered a lot of what I like, and I read so many beautiful books that I got tattooed on my body. I love the Red Rising series to this day. It has not been beat, and I read that in 2023, and the Greenbone Saga and the Broken Earth trilogy. I read some amazing things in 2023, but I also read a bunch of stuff that I just learned, which was valuable. This just is not for me. Versus 2024, I think I read a lot more of what was for me. I had fewer duds, but 2024 was definitely more regimented and planned. So I know what you're saying. It wasn't as free-flowing as 2023. It wasn't as I'll try anything. 2024, I was I had serious goals of things I wanted to read, and so I was less able to just pick up anything. I really had to kind of stick to what I wanted to read, or I wasn't going to get it read. So although The Realm of the Elderlings really derailed my TBR and is my favorite series of the year, so yay for derailment. But yes, I liked both years equally, for different reasons.
Don't get me wrong, I liked both years, but now that we are at the end of 2024, I guess before we say goodbye to this year, because most of this podcast we want to talk about next year, what would you say is the best part of your reading in 2024?
Series. I think that in January of this year, I made a list of 12 or more series that I had heard buzz about, had been recommended to me by people that I loved, and that's a lot. That's a lot of series, and I just decided, I'm sick of having FOMO. I'm gonna read as many of these as I can, and I did, and it was the best part of my year.
Oh.
I loved it. I think my favorite, if I look at my 5-star reads and what will probably end up being in my best reads of the year, they're all books from those series.
Wow.
I think there were a few random standalones that caught me off guard, but for the most part, those, I just had a feeling at the beginning of the year, I'm this is going to be my best reading, and it was.
Oh, so you really, I guess we'll see what you say, but 2025 might be more of the same for you. You're just dialing it in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I have some scaling back I want to do, because I do think the volume I read in 2024 was not ideal. And while I'm so glad I read every single series that I did, I'm basically glad that I read most of the books I read. It's just like, would I have loved them more if they had had more time to breathe? And if I had read them for a longer, like most books I was reading in less than a week, which is just like, if you really love a book, that's not very much time to spend in that world. You know?
Oh, Maddie, I feel like you're having a spiritual awakening
right
now. I just, you know what? I couldn't tell you. You had to find this on your own.
You were thinking this the whole year.
But we all knew it, Maddie. Like, we all see the addiction. Okay, so let's talk about 2025.
Indeed.
Now,
You came with your notes, I came with mine.
yes, do we want to start? And we have Christmas cookies to keep for substance as we go. Do we want to start with our priorities this year, or do you want to start with our rituals and rules that
I am very inspired by your rituals and rules, so I think you should start there, because I don't have a lot of hard and fast rituals and rules, but I am very inspired by yours, so I think you should start.
Wow, I feel very good about myself right now. Guys, get yourself a friend or a sister who pumps you up in this way. She knows that words are my love language.
Also, I'm just inhaling a Christmas cookie over here, so take your time. Take your time.
Okay, so rules and rituals. Number one thing that I learned in 2024 was I need to not read more than one series at a time. It doesn't matter if they're completely different genres. Something about Kristen's brain just cannot handle so many worlds and so many characters at one time. So what ends up happening for me is I confuse people. I miss Easter eggs. So like the big unmasking at the end of books, like the big thing that you've worked so hard for and read hundreds of pages for, doesn't hit the same if you missed some of the nuances on the way. So of all the series I read in 2024, I enjoyed all of them. But actually, one of the best series I read this last year, I don't actually think was written the best or is even the best story for me. I just read it by itself.
Okay, we need examples, titles.
Yep, so I will tell you. A Discovery of Witches. Cannot remember who wrote that.
Deborah Harkness.
Yes, Deborah Harkness. Harkness?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I read that whole series, it's only 3 books, in 1 month, and I didn't miss anything. So there was never a time that a twist happened that I didn't feel the full impact. When new characters were brought in, I was able to handle it because I had spent enough time with the characters already in it. So this is kind of me saying, okay, Kristen, I know you get really excited when people are like, this is the next thing, this is the next thing, this is the next thing. So I try to like tandem read too many and it just cheapened it for me. So this is like a hard rule, which also means that I will be reading less series in 2025 because I genuinely don't think I can read series super fast if I'm also mixing them in with some standalones. It'll just be less. Like I see myself reading 3, maybe 4 series the whole year if I give them each a quarter.
And so which series did you read simultaneously that you feel like the impact was slightly lost or the rating was slightly lowered or the experience was slightly less because you were reading them all at the same time? What series were those?
Oh, and it breaks my heart. I would say The Bound and the Broken by Ryan Cahill. I truly believe that's a 5-star series, but I couldn't rate it over 4 because my enjoyment was not a 5-star. And the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, which were both like I was very excited about. I'm not saying it's not great because my favorite series of the year is the Bloodsworn Saga, but I do think that if I had been able to read all 3 back to back, obviously I was waiting on a release for one of them, I think it actually would have even been more peak.
But you were reading
the Gale Song trilogy at the same time.
Yeah, Gale's Song by Shauna Wallace. And Gale's Song and Bloodsworn are both Viking. Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne. Those are both Viking, so those even like kind of overlap.
And The Bound and the Broken they're all a little medieval. And oh my gosh, I forgot that I also read Adeline Grace's like Belladonna series, which is very different, but these were all like 5 like within the same 3 months. And I just was feeling like all I'm reading are series and I like them all, but I cannot keep straight. But that's just how my brain works. And I think it's good to know your brain because maybe some people really thrive bouncing in and out of a bunch of worlds.
So Kristen's first rule is we are not reading more than one series at one time. You said because of this, you're going to tighten up your rating system.
Oh my God,
And
yes.
I am stealing that rule from you because I kind of tried to do this every year, but the more and more I hone my taste, I do really want to clarify what I'm giving ratings out for. And so I think historically I rate on Goodreads as objectively as I can for the target audience, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So like if I'm reading a romantic book, like a romance, knowing that I don't like romance very much, okay? I don't enjoy romance books very much. But I'm not going to rate a romance book a 2-star based on my experience with it if I think for romance readers in general, it's more like a 4-star in terms of quality and characters and those kind and tropes and those kinds of things. So I think on Goodreads, I'm always trying to give authors and books a little bit of grace in the sense that I'm like, if someone's looking to read this book, they're probably interested in it. They're probably the target audience. And so I'm trying to rate that way. But then I have a private spreadsheet where I'm rating things purely on my experience with them and how much I enjoyed it and whether I would recommend it to a reader like me. And that spreadsheet currently has 25 2-star books in it for 2024.
The people want your spreadsheet. I feel like it's like the X-Files. It's
I
like
know,
the
but
burn book.
I just don't want to hurt a book's overall rating with my cheeky little opinion. So I do struggle with this. I think there's a possibility that going into 2025, I may only give star ratings on Goodreads to books that are 3 or more stars, and books that are less than that, for me personally, like that would be a 2-star in my own spreadsheet, I'm just going to leave off the star rating. I might write my opinions in my comments in case people really want to know, but I think I might leave off star ratings on Goodreads for this reason, because I don't want to inflate books either. Like, I don't want people to be like, oh, Maddie loved this rom-com, she rated it 4 stars, when I didn't really love it. I just think as rom-coms go, it was a 4-star. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sometimes I love the connectivity of Goodreads and feeling like there's a community and we can see people's stuff. But also sometimes I wish I could just use it as my personal tracker because it's my notes, right? It's my thoughts.
Right.
And sometimes, believe it or not, I do like to keep my opinions to myself.
Right.
But I don't
especially if
have
they're
that.
negative.
Yeah, especially if they're negative. I'm kind of like, you know what? That kind of noise, we don't need any more of it in this world. So I just want to add fuel to the flame of things that I genuinely want to see lit up.
I will say it has been extremely freeing and liberating for me in our Patreon when we give our weekly reading update that we're not giving star ratings, we're just giving our honest thoughts and our honest feedback. It is very liberating for me to just tell the motherfucking family, like, guys, I don't understand why this audiobook sounds weird. I was lost for the first half. This writing style is weird for me. Like, I'm able to just say that in real time, my real experience with the book. And that has been really clarifying for me to just know really truly how I'm experiencing a book more than getting to the end and just trying to come up with a 5-star rating for the masses.
It's interesting because we're such forward thinkers, you and I. We really are like the next thing. What's the next thing to be productive? And our Patreon has helped me be a little bit more observant of the past week. I never used to look back in weeks. I always looked back in months when we did our reading wrap-ups at the end of every month. And now that I have a week to just observe, okay, how is my current read feeling? Because we talk about what we're currently reading. We talk about things that we just finished. It's actually one of the things that made me decide I need to do this differently in 2025. Or either A, I will stop liking this hobby, which would be horribly sad, or B, I will just not be good at my hobby anymore because all the passion and the fun is out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to be more reflective because have you ever read a book and you're like, that was good, but then like a month, 2 months, a year goes by, I watch one of our old videos pop up on this day a year ago, and I'll see a book that I've forgotten about, but I loved, and I'm like, I think I should have rated that higher. Or like, I feel like I could write a better review today than I did when I finished it because I'm not in productive mode anymore. I'm just observing.
It's like you want to be present with what you read, which does lead me into one of my priorities for the year, which is I'm always saying I want to have more quality over quantity, but I am aggressively pursuing this year specifically. Like, my reading goal on Goodreads is always 50 books, but last year I read 130. This year I'm probably going to end up somewhere around 140. And so in 2025, instead of setting myself a minimum goal, I mean, I probably will still set it at 50 on Goodreads, but I'm setting myself a maximum limit that I will not read more than 100 books in 2025. I just don't think that the quantity, I think the quantity at this point is hurting my quality of experience with the books that I am reading. So
I agree.
I am just going to give myself a limit. So that's one of my rules.
Okay.
A limit of 100 for 2025.
I don't think I'm going to limit myself on books, but I had never hit 100 until this year, and I'll be hitting 100 by the end of 2024. And it's so interesting because now that I've hit it, I'm like, okay, I did that. I would probably be the same way if I was like, I need to run a marathon, and then I run a marathon, and I'm like, okay, I did it. Like, I wouldn't keep doing it. Some of the best reading I ever had in my life was when I was only talking to my family and my in-person intimate book club for like 3 years. And it was great reading. And honestly, it was like reading for just the slow indulgence of reading, which I would not say is like how I've been reading this year for slow indulgence. Would never use those words. But I used to milk books. Like, if a book was good, I would read it slower. So one that brings me to cozy fantasy is something I just started this year. I would say Tress of the Emerald Sea was probably the first one that kind of got me there.
By Brandon.
By Brandon Sanderson. And then reading the Travis Baldree books. I've kind of stumbled upon some other people who give cozy recs, and I'm going to put those in every month with the intention of when I'm reading this book, because they're not usually very thick, I want to go slow. I love fantasy worlds. I love amazing characters. I love low stakes, believe it or not. And I just think that's going to be one of the ways it's going to help me slow down. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the tracking. Me and Maddie are flirting with the idea of being on Storygraph. I'm not sure yet, so leave a comment. Let us know what you think of Storygraph, if you use it or if you've tried it. But I'm hoping that if I have a new way of tracking, it will make tracking fun again. So I want to start writing notes as I'm reading a book. I'll probably just use the note app in my phone. But when it comes to like characters I'm enjoying, scenes that made me gasp, I want to be able to share that more online. Sometimes I hate, me and Maddie go to do a review and I'm like, I have all of these great feelings in me, but I can't put words to the scenes and the phrases. So whether that's putting down quotes from the book or scenes, like I said, I really want to get better at giving you guys information. I tell Maddie all the time, I'm like, you're so good at like being descriptive and giving the best reviews. So this means taking notes as I read, and then writing a review directly after I read the book before most of it has left my noggin.
I am also committing to that. I would like to write a review immediately after I read the book, and I did that in 2023. In 2024, I was playing around with letting something marinate for a while and sit, because sometimes my thoughts and feelings about a book do change the longer it sits with me, and I have a chance to see, like, does this book have lasting power? Is it something that keeps coming to mind after I've read 2 or 3 books since? And I think it was a decent impulse of mine, but it's just actually making it so that the reviews I need to write pile up, and now it's feeling like a chore. Like, I get to the end of the month and I need to go write 7 reviews, and that is not how I want to do it. So I'm going to go back to writing a review in real time every time I finish a book, and then if I want to go back and change my feelings or write new notes, I can always go back and revisit and edit a review. And that's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So one of the things I've found online that's really interesting for me to watch are people who keep like scrapbook, like journals. And you probably know Maddie and I are journalers. But this one girl does, I can't remember her name. I'll need to find her handle. but she does a review and like a mood board, like a scrapbook for the book she reads.
Yes.
But you could do that while you're listening to the book. It's like you could get inspired. You know the people who do collages online, like, oh, this book feels like, and then they have like music and pictures. But she does it in a scrapbook version. I have thought about this as well because it's a very cozy hobby.
Would love having a physical reading journal, and I am manifesting this for you in 2025. Just wait.
Okay, well, here's the deal, Maddie. I just have really bad handwriting and my spelling is subpar. So I feel like I need to type it up on Goodreads, but then I need to like print it out in some pretty descriptive stuff and then put it in my scrapbook.
That would be so cute.
Because again, my handwriting is cringe.
And then everyone's going to want pictures of that on our Instagram stories.
Oh my gosh, how fun would it be? Everybody's like, what's Kristen's pages? Oh my gosh, you guys, this is unlocking something right now in my soul.
So we do welcome your feedback on this. If any of you are following our written reviews on Goodreads, is it going to mess you up if we would potentially move permanently to Storygraph or to Fable? And what are your thoughts on that? Are you on multiple platforms? I mean, I think the reason that we both use Goodreads is because it is the most popular review platform and it is synced with our Kindles. But we are open to moving. Obviously, Kristen feels very excited about the prospect of just doing it in a new space. I personally am probably just going to keep doing my most intense tracking offline in a spreadsheet. But as far as public reviews go, I'm open. I don't hate Goodreads as much as the masses. It works for me. It's what I'm used to, but I am open. I know that Storygraph is way more aesthetically pleasing, so, and it isn't, you know.
Well, sometimes you just need to keep it fresh too. It's like when we're like, you know what? I feel a little burnt out on a genre.
Sure.
You went ham on fantasy romance. It's not that you hate it. You have fond memories of it, but you got burnt out on it. I feel slightly that way about Goodreads. Just like, it just doesn't feel cute anymore. I don't get excited to go there and say that I finished a book, and I want to go to a place that feels fun.
Yeah.
Both of us are prioritizing what I'm calling nostalgia reads.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to reread books when your TBR is so long and you just want to achieve. And I want to have new books to show you guys. But I had a couple rereads this year that were fantastic. Harry Potter, The Hobbit. And I feel very called to go back to the things that made me obsessed with reading as a young reader.
They're calling you, the books themselves are calling you,
yes,
Kristen,
they're
come
saying
read
like,
us.
we miss you. And I just want to go back and hang out in Anne of Green Gables and with Little Women. I just miss them. And watching the shows is great, but like the books are what got me originally. So I want to go back to my roots a little bit and just be at peace with that I'm not like achieving more books.
I am also very excited to do rereads this year and prioritize that. And in addition to this, a lot of the reads that I want to reread are classics, and I want to read more classics in general. So I am actually looking at another Patreon group right now that I might join as a member that are doing 12 classics, one each month in 2025, and there will be like a full syllabus and deep dive and some nice, helpful for me, like interpretations of the literature and what does this mean and what was the context of this and how does it relate to our lives now. Sometimes, honestly, I just can't make those connections with classics. I think a lot is missed in translation for me just because I don't understand like the history around the book, or I don't understand when it was written, or I don't understand the language of the time. And so it kind of goes over my head and I end up kind of lost and bored. But I don't want to be. Like, I believe classics are classics for a reason, and I am attracted to literature. And so I think I'm really, really, really like flirting with this idea. It's a little bit of a financial commitment, but I think I am going to do this other club just for myself and do a classic a month. And I would like to add that in. I love fantasy and I love sci-fi, but I do just feel attracted to classics. It's a weird thing about me.
It's just a little reading kink about you.
Yeah, I want to do some I do have some classics that I love that I want to reread. I reread Sense and Sensibility this year and loved it. I would love to reread Little Women. Mm-hmm. I have some of those. And I did read A Picture of Dorian Gray and White Nights this year and really loved both of those as classics. But yeah, I just want to add that in. So we'll see. If I do this other club, great. If I don't, maybe I'll just pick up some of my own that feel a little less intimidating to me. But I am going to tackle some classics in 2025. Who is she? And that leads me into, in 2024, as I said, I had this long list of series. I think I ended up reading fully, like completing 16 series in 2025.
She's crazy.
And I am scaling that. I did that in 2024. I'm sorry. In 2025, I'm scaling that way back. And I have 4.
4? Well, you'll read more than 4.
I will, but I just have 4 non-negotiable series that I would like to get to this year, and I was just going to share those. Does that sound good?
Oh, please do.
Okay. I would like to read Of Blood and Bone by John Gwynne. That is a prequel series to the Faithful and the Fallen series that I read this year, and it is my second favorite series of the year. I love it so much. I would honestly like to reread it. It's so good. And then I would like to finish reading Joe Abercrombie's First Law World. I read the first trilogy this year, and I would like to read the 3 standalones and then his Age of Madness trilogy, which kind of complete his first law books. And then I've heard amazing things about the political family drama in the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. And my friend Margaret from Literally Literary on TikTok highly recommends this series. It was her top 1 of the year this year, so I'm very excited to get to it.
You know it's going to be good if she says it's good.
Margaret and I have such in-sync taste.
You guys are dialed in. You guys are probably on the same cycle. Like, honestly, you're on the same book cycle.
Same book cycle. And then the last one is the Licanius trilogy by James Islington. I love The Will of the Many. I know they're very different, but I think I have enough trust in him as an author to commit to his series. Margaret also likes it, so that bodes well. So those are the only series that I am committing to so that I can keep the rest of my TBR open and flexible. Mm-hmm. And I am going to recommit. This is my commitment every year, but I'm going to recommit to getting my TBR down, physical TBR, down to 10 or less and keeping it there. And I really think I'm going to be there by about February. So if I can get my TBR down, then I'm just going to keep it there. I have actually removed my wish list from our profile so that I won't receive any more book gifts at the moment, because as much as I appreciate them, it does overwhelm me. And I'm just going to focus on those series and my physical TBR through the first little bit of the year, and then we'll see where the year takes us.
I love everything that you said, Maddie. I'm very excited for you. Why am I buzzing right now?
I feel like these are, like you were saying earlier, like these are the things that you wish you could tell me to do, but you just have to wait for me to decide I want to do them all by myself.
And then you're like, I hear the chorus and I'm like, hallelujah. I'm like, yeah.
But I think we should investigate why you feel this way. Is it for me, or is it because you are like,
okay, because comparison is the killer of joy.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
It's the thief. It's the motherfucking thief. I am going to be doing way more standalones this year, and I'm really excited because I have over 100 books on my TBR on Goodreads. I need to go through it because I'm not really good at going through it, and a random person at the grocery store could recommend a book to me, and I'm adding it because I'm like, oh, I will look at that later. But I won't. And I'm like, where did this book come from? So honestly, that's probably not accurate at all. I just swiped through it before we started recording, and I realized I do have a handful of books that I am very excited about. I want to read 6 of Crows. I read Shadow and Bone before Maddie. And I think I'm the one who forced you to watch that show.
Yes.
Because I'd be finding them shows. And so I forced her to watch it, read it, and then she went on and read 6 of Crows and said it was better. And it's been on my TBR for literally years. And Anna Claire, who went on our Ireland bookish trip with us, bought me beautiful hardcovers from my Amazon list. And
so jealous.
Sitting on my shelves. I cannot wait to read them. So that for me is like a gift to myself. I am planning to tab it. I'm going to read it physically. And I am very different than Maddie in this way. Neither is right or wrong, but I love getting books from the Amazon list and not feeling an urgency to read them. This is the very first time in my entire life that I have a physical TBR. I have always been a library goer, or if I bought a book, it's because it was like a 5-star book and I bought it after reading it. I just have been like a library, which is a beautiful thing, a library diehard. But because of my birthday and us having Kristen Mads, now I have all these books that were like on my list that you guys sent me, and I love them. And my list is still on there, and I will never take it off because I'm so excited, guys. This is big intel. But if you look behind us right now, you'll notice I have like bookshelves that are just kind of like scattered, okay? Maddie and her husband are building me a library. So my 2025 year, for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to have a place to keep books in my home. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you're going to be able to fit, I don't know if you're going to be able to fit 1,000 books, but I think we're going to be in the upper hundreds. Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4 and a half, 5, 6.
You'll have 6 bookcases, yes,
Yes.
that you can fill with books.
We'll see how many I can do. But as far as like working on the physical TBR, I'm going to do that this year, and I'm so excited about it, especially with 6 of Crows. I'm going to have a shit ton of romance in 2025. I'm so embarrassed with how good I feel reading romance. I can't even explain to you. It could be contemporary romance. Fantasy romance is literally my favorite thing in the world. And yes, I did get a little burnt out because it's all I read for a good 6 months at one point. But I do love it if it's done well. So I want all of your fantasy romance recs. I'm talking 5 stars. Don't you dare put a 4-star in a comment because I will come for you. I need the best of the best, cream of the crop. I'm talking Dark Window vibes, guys. Like, I want more of
You
them.
loved One Dark Window, but I wonder also if there's a whole realm of romance you have not even explored yet. Like, I mean, some that I know off the top of my head, there's like mafia romance. There is dark romance. There is cozy romance. There's Christmas romance, as you are learning.
I probably would like any of it. If it has romance
I
in
think
it.
there's like campus romance. Like that's a whole thing where it's like people in college.
Is that what I call dark academia? Probably.
I'm just saying, I think that there is a whole world out there for you to explore if you are open.
Yeah, I'm quaking for it. I need it so bad.
Are you looking specifically for spicy romance or non-spicy romance?
I like spice, but spice has to be done well. And
Okay.
I don't even know if I could online tell you guys what that means for me. But some spice is not good. If it's just too much, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Oh, I will say, I have had countless people tell me I need to read The Chestnut Springs. And I guess it's like a cowboy romance, which feels like summer. So I might just need to like wait when we're out of the season. But so many people, like I had one girl grab my Kindle from me when we were in Ireland and put it on my Kindle. She was like, you will read this book and then you will thank me. And I was like, okay. Like, I love this for us.
So maybe start with that one.
So maybe I'll start with that, but it just doesn't give winter. I think I like reading with the seasons.
Okay.
Do you?
Maybe you need like a figure skating romance. Sports romance.
I don't know.
Like football season?
Well, I read
basketball
Akatar in the
season?
winter and it felt appropriate for
So
whatever reason.
You are definitely still in your fantasy romance era.
Yes, and I'm like, I think I thought that romantasy was like a season that like takes you to the next thing. Like it's not that good, but you think it's good. And I'm like, maybe it actually is really good for me. Maybe that is actually my favorite reading. Because the high fantasy I read this year, I liked it a lot. But there would be like a smidge of romance. And I was like, oh. Like I loved it so much. And I just like, that's all I would remember. People could ask me about the plot and I'm like, let's talk about the subplot. Romance.
Kristen. We are so different.
So embarrassed. But that is what you get from Kristen Mads. You get the yin and the yang. You know what? We read so many of the same books every year. Mm-hmm. Because I get so many recs from you, first off. Mm-hmm. And then second off, we do so many clubs.
Yeah, we do so many of the same clubs.
But my goal in 2025, new goal. We give you guys more recs because we read less of the same.
I love this. This is tea that you're just like, what you said, what's your little secret? I'll just expose you. Kristen is going to actually find her own creators that she loves on the internet. her own people to influence her of what to read that are not me.
Yeah, Maddie is no longer my go-to for all of my recs, even though she has literally changed my life with a lot of the books she's brought to me. But it's no secret.
We're just not in the
Maddie
same
builds
era.
both of our TBRs. Like, she basically does. And it has been so fun. And also, Maddie is on a train that I cannot jump on. It's like it's just like in Wicked when she's on the train and she's going to see the wizard and I'm just Glenda, like sitting there like, I can't come with you. But like, I'm literally not going to jump on that train with you. I'm sorry, but I can't.
Okay, Glenda.
My train has a lot of romance in it and yours is going to have a lot of dragons and, a lot of torture scenes probably.
Okay, well, I'm not saying I read for torture scenes, though.
I mean, but you do like them getting beat down.
Here's what it is. Here's what it is. I'm in an era of wanting a lot of subtlety, a lot of nuance, a lot of complication. I really like unpredictable, original feeling ideas and stories. And I really like traditional themes. So it's kind of a difficult order.
Yeah.
But when I read fantasy romance, it's not that I'm not like swept away by the settings, because I am. And it's not that I don't love like a great love and poetic prose, because I do. That's why I loved Wisteria so much.
Oh.
I do. It's just I read one of those and it's like I feel quite satisfied. If I were to just go and pick up another one right away, it's like I feel like I'm just reading the same thing and it starts to get watered down.
Yes.
And it doesn't give me those feelings anymore. I don't get as excited. I don't fall as in love with the man. I don't feel as invested because like I really feel like it's just like a carbon copy again and again. And I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that's how it feels to me.
Well, it's good for people to just hear about how different this experience is for us because so many people feel differently about their reading hobby. And the last thing I want to do is turn people off to reading because they're just like doing the same thing, carbon copy over and over again. And then they're just like, okay, that's all there was to read. No, there are so many different authors out there, so many different genres.
And the last thing I want people to feel, like if they pick up something that I've recommended, let's just say like The Faithful and the Fallen, which I just raved about on this podcast, is like, I don't want them to pick up Malice, which is a 650-page book with 8 points of view.
Okay, John, go off.
And, you know, they get 150 pages in, which is not a little bit. That's going to be a chunk of your time investment. And you still don't feel invested in any characters. You still feel confused. You're still getting people straight. And you're not having a good time. And it feels like a chore every time you pick up the book to read. That is not what I want for people.
No.
So it's like, I do think you have to know your own taste and find people who you have similar taste with so that when they make a recommendation, it's not going to feel like a chore. And if I have been recommending books to you, my dear sister, that felt like a chore, I am sorry. And I am so glad that you are in an era right now where you're going to either not take my recommendations at all or just DNF.
I think FOMO in reading when you like people. So I love you. You're my best friend. So if you tell me that a book was amazing and you just want to talk about it, oh my gosh, like I want to read it because I want to talk about it. Like I want to share in your experience.
Yeah.
It's like when we were younger with anything that you were in love with, you're such a great curator of things. Whether it's things that we buy or shows, you really do your research and I'm lazy. So maybe there's a part of me that is finding some joy in the researching and the creating of my own. Now that I'm not working so many jobs and now that I don't have such young kids, I'm just feeling like I have time.
To find your own things.
Yes, yes. And other hobbies too. I think in 2025, I will read less, not because I like reading less, but because I'm going to make my habits for reading kind of trickle into the other areas, slowing the fuck down.
I have a brilliant idea.
Okay.
It's hitting me right now.
Okay, what is it?
What if this year we give each other a pass number, like maybe 3, tops 5, and it's like I'm allowed to interrupt your TBR.
What?
If I read something so amazing that I'm willing to use like one of my 3 for the whole year to say, Kristen, you have to read this. Because think about it.
We have to call it something cool,
Yes,
like the card.
Because think about it, like some of your favorite books this year. Granted, I recommended some that ended up feeling like a chore to you. But some that you loved, Sword of Kaigen.
Changed my life.
Blood over Brighthaven.
The Will of the Many.
The Will of the Many, right? And I really feel like there might just be some books I read, maybe, that I'm like, oh, Kristen would love this. And she's not going to hear about it from anyone but me, following all your little cozy romantic influencers that you love. And so I'm like, can I jump the line and put this one on your, like, I'll be very selective. And you can do the same with me. Be like, Maddie, I know that romance feels watered down to you, but like this romance is the one. It will make your heart pitter patter. You will be so invested. So you have to read this one. What if we do that? Okay. Should we make it 3?
I think 3.
3. Okay, guys.
Because I think I will accidentally also just grab ones from your TBR. Like, Maddie's doing our reading wrap-ups at the end of the month, and I'm literally low-key, like, in between shots, like, please hold. I need to put this on my Goodreads list.
Okay, let's call these the 3 hall passes.
Is it hall passes or is it jump the lines? Because I like that, too.
Jump the lines.
Oh, it's a card. It's a card. You have one hall pass. You have one jump the line. Like, they all have a different one.
Okay.
Like, I want to use my jump the line.
Okay.
What's the other one? Hall pass, jump the line, and what's another thing that you do?
Well, probably.
Please excuse me.
Please excuse me.
Pardon me. Because what do you do when you break people up? You break the chain.
Break the chain.
Break the chain.
Oh, you're saying like when you like bust people up, but when you like go between them, excuse me, when you
third wheel. I want to use my third wheel.
What? Doesn't make any sense. Well,
okay, guys, so how about you help us come up with the third one? We're obviously struggling creatively in this red hot moment.
We get 1 hall pass, 1 jump the line, and 1 what, guys?
Poop attack.
What?
It really interrupts your day.
1 interruption.
That's not fun, though.
Yes, it is.
They're all interruptions.
That's true. Okay,
it has to
guys.
make a phrase for interruption.
Somebody help us out here in the comments. Okay, I have 2 more things to discuss.
Oh, yay.
For my 2025 goals. How are you doing on your list?
Feeling good. Just go ahead, babe.
Okay, so I am going to... Oh, this is hard for me, guys. I just started sweating.
I was just going to say my armpits are sweating.
I think it's because I'm like nervous committing to these things publicly. Because like you can tell I actually have an issue.
You can just cut that out of the podcast if it's overwhelming.
I just said that I am going to try to commit to reading more physical books this year. In 2023, I think I was like 70-30. 70% of the books I read physically and 30% I read on audio. In 2024, I think I can check my spreadsheet, but I think it's more like 80-20. It's insane. And for a lot that I was immersion reading, for a lot that I was listening to earlier in the year, I was immersion reading. Like I was physically reading while listening. And I just think there's nothing wrong with it, but for me, it contributes to that like rapid pace, that frantic pace that I read at is like, it's because honestly, audiobooks sound so slow to me. So I speed them up, and then before I know it, like I'm literally listening to my book on what some people would consider to be fast forward.
It's like cocaine addiction. Like
it's just speed.
It's like speed. No, Maddie's audiobooks will randomly pop on like if we get in the car, and it sounds like an alien dialect. And she's just sitting there computing every word, and I'm like, the hell are we listening to? And I listen at, they said 1.75 sometimes, but even then, it feels a little fast for me. So yes, I think slowing down, Maddie, woohoo, hallelujah.
Listen,
chorus.
I can't slow down the audio. It sounds like slow-mo to me. It just doesn't sound right.
It's cozy.
I don't like it. But I think the answer is to just not listen to as many on audio and just pick up the physical book and not put on my headphones, which means like I'm not saying I won't read any audiobooks because I really do enjoy listening to books like when I go on my daily walk and those kinds of things, like those habits that I have, or when I'm in the car, especially on a long drive. But I just mean like in my home in my common room, sitting down with a physical book in my hand, but also having headphones on. Like, I think I'm going to be doing a lot less of that in 2025. I think I'm just going to read it as fast as my eyeballs can read it and enjoy it.
Eyeballs.
And maybe that will mean I'll do a little bit more annotating this year,
Maddie,
which I wouldn't be sad about.
Wouldn't you guys just shit a brick if Maddie was like reading wrap up and I say, how many books did you read this month? And she's like, 5. I would shite myself. I'd say, girl, is her mental health so good? Just kidding. Her mental health's great. But seriously, Maddie, if I was only physical reading, let me think about this. Mm-hmm. If I did no audiobooks, I would probably read 3 to 4 books a month. Mm-hmm. Because I would physically read more. Right now, I'm only physically reading like 2 books a month out of like my 10. So I'm probably an 80-20 as well. Mm-hmm. But if I wasn't trying to do my audiobooks while I'm puzzling and all that, I would just sit and read more. Mm-hmm. I also feel like even when an audiobook's a 5-star, doesn't it feel different when you rate a physical book a 5-star and an audiobook? It's bizarre.
No, and I think that this is some tea, guys, but as book reviewers who are constantly making recommendations to all of you, I do think it's different to recommend, for me, like a long series that I have listened to on audio to a person that I know is going to read it physically.
Because it's going to be different.
Because it is a bigger time commitment for them than it was for me. And if I think people are lying if they say that doesn't affect their reading. If you are a person at all who values their time or feels like they don't have enough time or that time is precious,
been there,
then the cost to read a big book or a 2-star book or a 3-star book or a long series, like that cost is way higher when it costs you more than it costs me. If I am listening to this 4-book series on 2 to 3 times speed because that's my reading comprehension, and so that series only, let's say took me 40 hours, but you're going to spend 300 hours physically reading that series, it cost you more than it cost me. So
oh my gosh,
the value is different and your rating and your experience might be different. And so I do think I will have more accurate ratings in terms of recommendations if I physically read the book and I pay the same price. If I pay the most expensive price that anyone's ever going to pay, I can more accurately rate something's value. That's my tea. That's my truth.
That's so good. I'm like thinking of every book that has made the biggest impact on me.
Physical read.
They were all physically read. Except for Sword of Kaigen, I did it on audio.
See, I did that one physical.
But I thought that Blood Over Brighthaven was almost equivalent because I physically read that one.
That's the tea.
I think that's why Blood Over Brighthaven, well, I don't know.
There are some books that are enhanced on audio. And I will say my favorite series of the year, Live Ship Traders, I think is enhanced on audio because I truly believe the narrator is channeling something.
Whoa.
Like she is a gift. So there are some audiobooks, but as we all know, there are narrators that totally botch the story.
They're cringe ball.
Yes.
Like I can't handle. Okay, so we have a lot of goals.
Yeah.
You do your one more. Let me see.
Well,
if I
it's
have
the
any.
same as yours. We have one left.
Which one? Point.
Screens.
Oh, yes. It's so funny that Maddie and I got together today and we started discussing, and all of a sudden I was like, are we the exact same person? Obviously,
your goals are my goals. My goals are your goals.
We just have similar energies. Okay, take it away.
Well, I think that correlating with reading less and trying to really absorb things, Kristen and I are going to prioritize watching screen adaptations this year. We're having so much fun doing the Book to Screen Club on Patreon, and it's just making us realize, like, again, if you're really loving something and you blaze through it in 4 to 5 days and then you're on to the next thing, you didn't get to really enjoy being in that world with those characters and thinking about that story. And so I think along with reading things slower, reading things physically, trying to really soak the marrow out of them, I think watching the screen adaptations would be part of that.
Yeah.
Especially if they're well rated and beloved. I want to milk certain stories for all they're worth.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that with the club, but I think we'll be doing that with other things too. Like I just saw...
Girl, I've been doing that.
We just saw that there is an adaptation for And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which we both read this year, or we read this month.
Is there, like, I want to watch it. Like, does this exist? And Maddie said she didn't think so, but she did the research.
Searched and it's there. So I think we might be on the hunt for some good stuff to watch and just incorporate other media back in. Like, I'm not going to say books and screens are equivalent means of entertainment. Obviously, I think everyone's always trying to like lower their screen time. But for me, watching an adaptation and like really getting into a story is not equivalent to me like spending an hour scrolling social media.
Oh, no.
I just want, this is a tandem, but I would also like to watch more YouTube content.
Wait, it's a tandem or a tangent?
Tangent.
What?
But in tandem. I have a tangent in tandem.
Okay.
Is that I would like to watch more YouTube content.
I was saying.
Because it's just longer form social media than the short form that I can get stuck scrolling for ages. So
I'm so happy for Maddie. I'm equally as excited for her as I am for me.
I know. I feel so like you're my cheerleader of all my goals.
I just feel like this is a good thing to do, right? I love new beginnings. Maddie was saying how much she loves accomplishing and the completion of things. So we're at the end of the year and we're doing all of our list videos for you guys. I'm already like 2024 who? I fucking love birth. And new.
The new
and
thing.
Fresh. Like, I won't finish anything because all I want to do is get that new, right? Mm-hmm. So here's to the new. Mm-hmm. Thank you for hanging out with us in 2024. I promise the things that you love about Kristen Mads, if you love us, they'll be coming back in 2025. But also just know that we've got some cool goals and you guys can help keep us accountable. Call Maddie out. Call me out kindly. And let us know what your goals are in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And if you want more content like this, join us on Patreon with the motherfucking family because we are having a blast.
Bye.
Bye.